Blessings, everyone. Namaste. Nothing but love to you, and peace always be with you. So, what does it really mean to surrender to God? In most religious texts, it's described as to surrendering to a higher person than you, to someone that just knows better. So we look at it as like, hey, I should surrender my will to this higher being because it knows what actions to do that are better than the actions I would do. And yeah, it kind of is like that. But there's an actual practical way that actually makes sense. And it's really not so religious. So what it truly means, and what it means from my perspective, is that you have your ego self, and then you have your true self. Your true self is the awareness or the consciousness that you are trying to surrender your ego to. You're trying to surrender your ego, your personal self, the identified self. That is the point of person you're trying to surrender. And you're surrendering it to your higher self, to your self that is pure and still, that is just present, that doesn't get manipulated or persuaded or is biased or it's judging. It's just present awareness, and that is God within you. You're accessing God's awareness, you're accessing God's consciousness, and that is what it really means to surrender yourself, to surrender to God, to give it to God, to let God take care of you, to trust in God, to let God bless you, and let God heal you, and all these like religious ways of how you think, oh, what does it really mean to surrender to God? And in this way you understand that is actually practical, that it's actually true, that when you surrender your ego or your mental self that's making decisions out of judgments and biases and frustrations and thoughts and all these things that are not giving you the clear picture, the whole picture of what reality is. And obviously you end up making wrong decisions when you come from this place, when you come from a place of stress, and when you come from a place of a dark awareness, a smaller point of perspective. And that's where suffering, and that's where all the stuff that's not healthy for you lives. And that is the truth of what it means to surrender to God, to surrender to the higher awareness that is present, the true consciousness that is just, that can see all your thoughts, that can see all your emotions, that can see everything, and it's not moved, because God's consciousness is not moved. And you notice that you start to become in peace. You become one with God's consciousness, with God's spirit, as you let go of your lower self, that is the personal attached self, the personal self, and you become more free, because obviously if you surrender to God, God's going to give you freedom. God's going to give you happiness. It's going to take away all your stress, because what it means is that you are in higher God's consciousness, Christ's consciousness, Buddha nature, that you aren't so lost in the mind anymore. You aren't so lost in the emotions anymore. You're not so lost in your identified body and its limitations. And it is very clear once you truly allow yourself to surrender to your higher pure awareness. And it's very simple. All it takes is for you to just allow things to be, for yourself to just to remain, to not act on any thought, to not act on any emotion. You're just literally just allowing truth to be. You're not having to play out any more stories in your head, or in the past, or what the future is going to be like. You're just out of your head. You're in God's surrender. You're in God's consciousness. Your pure self, your true self, is the door and the access to the higher God's consciousness. And in this way, all the things that in religious texts and in religious context, it is actually true. Because when you actually surrender, it's just to God, in this more practical way that makes sense, you understand that, like, yes, you do heal. Yes, you do stop worrying. Yes, you do stop stressing. Yes, you do stop all these things that are self-sabotaging, experiencing all this suffering, and you start to experience the bliss of life, the beauty of life, because now you're seeing from a place of peace. You're seeing from a place of love. You're not seeing life, through the mind only, or through the conditioned mind anymore. You're seeing from God's consciousness, and you access it, and it is omnipresent. We all have access to it. We all have this direct connection to God and the universe, and however you want to label it. I just wanted to say God, because God has such a strong power. The word God, we put it in this realm of just the ultimate power, the ultimate, like a majestic, beyond magic, beyond just anything. It's everything. So yes, this is how you truly surrender to God. And when you do in this way, yes, you heal. Yes, all stress goes away. Yes, you become lighter in spirit. Yes, you become more abundant. Yes, God starts to bless you. Yes, God starts to do all the miracle things for you, because now your ego is not in control anymore. Now your personal limited conscience that's programmed is not in control anymore. You're allowing, you're acting and flowing from a space of pure God, Christ consciousness and Buddha nature. And then we all see the truth that we are all one. And we all, like, I don't have to say what would happen, in the future. You would just feel it. You would just know it. And, it's beautiful. It's amazing. And I always say it's happening, because it's always happening. It's already there. It's just, we're not there. We keep, dropping down into our limited awareness, and then we make that to be real. And, we live on that timeline, and we're trying to get into the, God's timeline, to the heaven on earth timeline. And it's very simple. It's already here. You just have to be here. We just have to be here. We have to be present. We have to be in the moment. We have to be aware of our self, of our conditions, of our judgments, of our thoughts, of our emotions, of all these things that persuade us and manipulate us, that leads us to suffering and limitation, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. So I love you guys. I love you guys so much. I just want everybody to shine and just be free and be just happy. it's so good to see people just, you know, free, like truly free, and just like not stressed, like truly themselves, and just exuberating joy and laughter and conversation and this human connection. And you know, we're connecting to ourselves, and um, it is such a beautiful experience when you're amongst heart people, amongst true spiritual beings, because you are a spiritual being. That is your true nature. You're just having a human experience. So I love you guys. Namaste. Amitabha. Blessings all.